Hitting Hard is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We ask you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can get the latest episodes of Hitting Hard as soon as they become available. Also, check us out on the SiriusXM app, and also follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. So, an interesting twist. I was looking at Pro Football Focus is going through and ranking the different positional groups. They're taking the top 32 players ahead of the 2023 season and looking at their quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, right? All this kind of stuff. Well, the latest one that they had was interior defensive line. And if I told you that among Falcons players, Grady Jarrett, believe it or not, only finished third on his team, would you have bought that? Now, here's what the list is. So, again, obviously, Aaron Donald 1, Chris Jones 2. No real issues there. Dexter Lawrence and all that kind of stuff, all right? So coming in at number 17, and this is a bit of a surprise, and maybe this is based upon not just what have you done for me lately, but the totality of his 15-year career. But at 17 is Calais Campbell. Quote, at 36 years old, Campbell isn't the same player he was at the height of his career, but he did enough over the past 3 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens that expecting him to not be a top 20 player at the position this year is doing him a disservice. In his 15th season in the league, he produced a 70.0 plus PFF grade, both against the run and as a pass rusher. Okay, I mean, look, again, a lot of this is, what he's done for the entirety of his career, right? And he's probably a borderline Hall of Fame caliber player, right? He's been an outstanding defensive player, right? He's been in the league forever and a day, and he's going to be a huge benefit. And D-Lit and I kind of went back and forth about this last night on my radio show. I don't know that he's going to play 60% of the snaps. He thinks he's going to play more than 60% or right about that number percent of the snaps. Okay, we can agree to disagree on all that kind of stuff. All right, maybe that's to be expected. Then you get down onto number 21 on this list, and it's David Onyemata. So, quote, after signing an impressive 3-year, $35 million deal with the Atlanta Falcons this offseason, Onyemata will need to get back to his 2020-2021 form for that contract to make sense. His 53.0 PFF run defense grade last season was the lowest of his career, though he still has been effective as a pass rusher, producing 116 pressures from 1,097 pass rushing snaps over the past seasons. All right, look, Onyemata's a pretty good player. Where's the guy that I'm missing in all of this? And so coming in at number 23, Grady Jarrett. Quote, it's been 3 seasons since we saw Jarrett really dominate for a stretch. And with his being 30 years old now, it's fair to wonder if his best days are behind him. He was still good enough to make this list based upon his play last year, though, registering 7 sacks, 10 hits, and 28 hurries from 487 pass rushing snaps. Now, that's a bit of a surprise. It wasn't a few years ago. Maybe like the year pre-pandemic or somewhere around in that realm, that Grady Jarrett was looked at as a top 5 interior defensive lineman. Do I think that all of his best years are ahead of him? No, of course not. He's going to be 30 years old. But that doesn't mean he's washed up. And it is surprising to see him be third among the Falcons. Now, there's 2 ways you can look at that, right? That, okay, maybe Calais Campbell and David Onyemata are going to be so good that they're going to overshadow Grady Jarrett. That would be the positive way. The realistic way would be like, okay, what has Grady done to slip? Look, Grady had, and at least for the first half of the year, Grady Jarrett was off to one of his best seasons as an Atlanta Falcon in the first half of the season. He was about to put up some of his best numbers for his career. And look, 7 sacks, that's more than Calais Campbell, and that's more than David Onyemata. It's more than either one of those guys put up. And I know it's not all about the raw numbers and things like that, but when I'm looking for sacks and I'm desperate for sacks, Grady was the leader of those three guys. So it is kind of surprising a little bit that, okay, Grady's only, first off, the fact that Grady's only 23rd on this list of interior defensive linemen, when for years we've gotten used to saying, okay, he's one of the top. Look, he's not Aaron Donald. Nobody's Aaron Donald, right? Nobody's Aaron Donald. And I'll give you that he's not right now Chris Jones or Dexter Lawrence, probably not even Cam Hayward, DeForest Buckner. I'll give you that. I'll give you, and Jonathan Allen, another one. But wow, 23rd on this list, and he's only the third Falcon on the list. Now, it's good that we have three players who qualify in the top 32, because we haven't had very many times where, maybe never, you might have to go back to the bomb squad in 98, that we would have three guys who were capable of being top 30 players at their position, right? But it hasn't happened very often. And when you think about interior defensive line, and look, Campbell's going to be a hybrid, right? Versatility, right? That's the big buzzword in Flowery Branch. Versatility. That he's going to be a versatile guy. He play inside, he play outside, blah, 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 right? Caden Ellis will be on the edge, and he'll be in the linebacker spot and inside. And okay, I mean, all of these guys, all they preach is their versatility on offense, defense, whatever, okay? So we know that that's Arthur Smith's MO. But it is just kind of surprising to see. Again, I don't know what to make of it. I thought Grady had a really good year last year, given the fact that, Taquan Graham made some strides. He progressed, but he had the injury issues, and we didn't really have a lot around him. The Abdullah Andersons and guys like that of the world, like those guys were okay for what they were as rotational pieces, but certainly we don't have the two, behemoths right in the middle that just blow up every play, right? We're good, but we're not great by any stretch of the imagination on our offensive line, or defensive line, I should say, and especially on the interior side. So one, it's surprising to see Grady that low on any list when it comes to interior defensive linemen, and maybe his best days, are behind him, but I would still like to think that he's got some productive years left. And if Campbell and Onyemata can be players in this thing, that rotation of those guys wreaking havoc on quarterbacks and then everything else where we get pressure, okay, I can buy into that. And maybe Grady Jarrett, feeding off of the energy that those two guys bring, excuse me, and the ability that those two guys bring, maybe he'll feed off that. And maybe he'll have that big bounce back season that, again, according to Pro Football Focus, maybe they didn't see it from Grady last year. I'll take 7 sacks all day long out of Grady. So surprising that Grady's that low, surprising that he's only the third Falcon, but it is good news to say that Onyemata, Campbell may be real players, and the fact that if those two guys are better than what we're getting out of Grady Jarrett, that's all good news as far as sacking the quarterback, all good news as far as blowing up plays in the backfield. All right, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and now as we're into the NBA playoffs, headed to the NBA Finals, coming up on Thursday, FanDuel has got you covered. New customers can go to FanDuel.com and sign up and get your no-sweat first bet, where you can get, ready for this, as much as $2,500. I said that right, $2,500 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Now, FanDuel is safe, secure, and super easy to use. No easier way to go and do online betting than with FanDuel. So head to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON, and get started and claim your no-sweat first bet, where if your first bet doesn't win, you could be eligible to get as much as $2,500 in bonus bets. Yes, I said that right. $2,500 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.